Man, what is going on? We are back here today, and I brought this series back. What happened to Gengar? Here we are, episode 2. I realized yesterday I put out 2 insane hit videos, the BL to High Ladder and that Fate of Smoke on OU. Oh my god, both those videos were way too hot. So I figured today I just throw some trash at you guys, so you know this series had to return. No, I'm playing. This will be a good video. But Gengar, that's what I wanted to talk about. That's actually one of the Pokemon that inspired me to create this little mini series in the first place, because Gengar has been such a drastically changing Pokemon throughout the last 3 generations. And it's really been up and down for that Pokemon, and I was like, damn, let me talk about this, because like this is a Pokemon I don't really use too much. It doesn't really see too much usage in Gen 7 at the moment. It did at one point, which is pretty interesting, and again goes back to how up and down this thing's usage is like from the last like few years. But yeah, interesting Pokemon. I figured why not talk about it, so let's get into it. So Gengar, I've used it in tournament a few times actually, in way back. So that's in Gen 7 at least, but let's go back to like Gen 5. So Gen 4, okay, wait, let's go back to the very beginning. So what Gengar is from Gen 1, right? I think it's like decent in Gen 1 and Gen 2. Don't quote me, I don't really know. In Gen 3, it's really good. In ADV OU, Gen 3 OU, it's really good. In Gen 4 OU, it's really good. In Gen 5 OU, it got not as good, just because Sand, Chip, and stuff. I mean, like, that existed in DPP, but in general, the metagame got harder for Gengar in Gen 5. Regardless, it was still able to do some stuff with Substitute, and it was decent in Gen 5. And then Gen 6 came around, and Gengar completely fell off the map in Gen 6. Seen very, very rarely. That could be for like a different number of reasons. Assault Vest Tornadus T is on like every team. Pokemon in general are able to live its attacks. There's a lot of Pursuit, a lot of T-Tar, a lot of Weavile, stuff like that, so that might be a thing. And then Gen 7, where we are right now, Weavile loses Levitate and is not seen too much at all, and has become a pretty low tier threat in a sense. Gengar used to even be UU at one point. I remember that thing used to be UU. What tier is it? Wait, it is UU. Yeah, see, look, I knew I wasn't tweaking. It's UU right now. Like, it's crazy how this thing fell out of favor. Gengar, a Pokemon that was always seen as one of like the most obscene, most powerful Pokemon ever, is down to UU, and it's crazy. So I figured let's go through this Pokemon. Let's see the sets it could run today, what I think about it in the current metagame, stuff like that. So let's just go through the sets first. So the first set I have, these are 4 Gengars that I think that you could potentially run and get a decent payoff with, and I've used these in the past. So Specs Gengar. So Specs Gengar is probably the overall best set this thing ever had across the whole Sun and Moon meta. This thing is pretty, like, this set is pretty decent because like Gengar's pretty strong, like a special attack is good, the speed's good, and so in general you're able to break holes. Also because Shadow Ball in general has pretty good coverage with Focus Blast. Shadow Ball's not resisted by much anyways, besides what, like normal and dark, so you're able to get away with Gengar's dual stab, which is nice for a choiced user. You want to be able to just click its stab moves and do big damage all the time, right? So this is basically a set, 3 attack, Trick. You can run Thunder, Bolt if you want to hit Pex and Celesteela harder. I have ran that before, but I run Trick most of the time because it's nice to cripple fatter Pokemon and stuff like that. Assault Vest Magearna, whatever the case may be. But yeah, this is basically just used as wall breaker. This is it. The reason I think this set fell out of favor is because even with Specs, the problem with Gengar is that Shadow Ball is a pretty low powered stab move, so it's hard to spam it versus stuff like Assault Vest Tangrowth and Toxapex, because they don't actually take too much from that move, and then they threaten back really hard because Pex can just recover stall you, and Tangrowth will almost kill you with knockoff or Earthquake. So one of the big problems with Gengar, why it fell out of favor, is because it lost one of its key immunities, which was great back in the day. The ground immunity was great back in the day, but now it doesn't have that. So like Gengar was cool because even though it was so frail, it resisted so many things, dude. It resisted normal, it resisted fighting, it resisted ground. Like, those are such, like, fighting and ground are such like highly used offensive moves, you know what I mean? And just being immune to Earthquake in general is always a blessing. Resisted U-turn, stuff like that. But the problem in Gen 7 a little bit for Gengar is that it's if it's trying to take on these defensive Pokemon, Celesteela, Toxapex, stuff like that, oftentimes these defensive Pokemon have a good way to threaten Gengar, weaken it, almost kill it, and that's pretty bad for it when, you know, its defenses are just shit, you know what I mean? But Specs, overall, a pretty decent set, definitely want to try out. The next set is just Scarf, basically the same thing, same moves as well. I just have Thunderbolt tech here. Again, you can run Trick, it doesn't matter. I run T-Bolt on Scarf at least. Nowadays, I would run T-Bolt. I ran it a few times before, but I would run it now for sure because so many people run regular Gyarados on the ladder, Z-Fly and stuff like that. I think Thunderbolt would be a good type for that. In general, the only problem I've had with this is that it's weak, but I actually had great success with a Gengar team way back in the metagame. I've used a Specs Gengar in tournament once, and I lost with it, and I used a Scarf Gengar in tournament once, and I won with it. The Scarf one was when Pheromosa was allowed in the tier, and so that was great, because Gengar was actually able to resist all of Pheromosa's moves back then. It didn't get Drill Run back then, so the only thing you could hit Gengar with was Ice Beam. And I was Scarf, so I could just outspeed the next turn. So it was a really nice check with Scarf. Specs, on the other hand, could get 2-hit KO by Ice Beam, so it's pretty sloppy. But Scarf is cool. So yeah, Scarf just serves as revenge killer. Honestly, again, problem with this is just that most teams can deal with it. Like if we go to Gen 7 OU teams right now, sorry, I got a lot of meme teams here, but if we go to like more standard looking teams like down here, like Gengar would really struggle versus an AV Torn. Well, this is AV Torn, so it's different. But even like, but look, like this team, for example, Gengar could have a pretty decent matchup versus, because Spec Shadow Ball in theory could do some good work if rocks go up, but one of the problems that would and could happen, or could and would happen, is that Tangrowth will pivot in and then Pex can pivot in, and because they have such invested Spadef, even though I am Specs, it'll be hard for them to, it'll be hard for Gengar to break through a core like this. But as you can see, a standard team like this doesn't have a ghost resist, so in general you could just still break through. You get rocks up, you burn those Pokemon with a Will-O-Wisp or a Scald. Like, it's very probable that Gengar is able to muscle through a team. Same with this team. It looks like a very nice balanced team, CB, Cart, Bloom, Tran, but as you can see, a Specs Gengar could really put the hurt on. Yes, Celesteela, Pex, they are able to live Shadow Ball, but you know, what if I have a Tangrowth to pivot into on Leech Seed, or I knock off Pex's Black Sludge, and then, you know, I can stay in with Gengar. All these different conditions could happen in the battle, and this is a team where it's standard and it looks good, but this is where something like Gengar would shine even more than Mega Alakazam. And you might be thinking a lot of the times like, damn, I wish I had Mega Alakazam, or I wish I had Mega Latios or some other special attacker instead of Gengar. But Ghost coverage is pretty good for its the lack of resistances, you know? Like a lot of teams in general, basically any team without T-Tar, I've realized, has a very hard time packing a good Ghost Resist, because Greninja doesn't count as a Ghost Resist. It gets 2-hit KO'd by Spec Shadow Ball. Scarf Shadow Ball does like 35, stuff like that. Not to mention Gengar's other moves will knock it out. So in general, just going through my teams, you can see a lot of these teams are pretty, I mean, like this team has, these two have T-Tar, so obviously not too weak. But in general, Specs Gengar can put the hurt on. So yeah, definitely not like a completely bad pick. It's also, even though it's frail, it's able to switch into Tapu Koko. No, sorry, not Tapu Koko, sorry, but Tapu Fini. And you can switch into Tapu Bulu if it's not banded. I'm pretty sure you live. You might die to Scarf or Woodhammer, actually. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, even though it's completely frail, I do like the ability to swap into some of the bulkier mons like Tapu Fini. You can scare that thing out, so it's not the end of the world. Anyway, third set. So I have used this set a lot with different variations. I'll tell you all the different moves and items I have run. So this is basically just the unchoiced Gengar. I like this set. I'm a fan. Yeah, I had a really nice team with this plus Tapu Koko. With Z Electrium Thunder. That was a very cool team. But anyway, let me explain this set. So Ghostium Shadow Ball. This is basically just a take on non-choice Gengar. I haven't used Ghostium in a very long time. The one time I used Ghostium Z, it was on a substitute Gengar. It was decent, but it wasn't the best set. Honestly, I just put Ghostium to put a stab move, but a lot of the time I think that if you're gonna run a Z move, Electrium Z Thunder will probably give you a pretty good payoff, because I got pretty good payoff every time I used this. So this set was basically used to lure in Celesteela, Toxapex, yeah, basically just Pokemon weak to electric moves. I mean, it's just a good move to have. Like Z Thunder is what, 180, 190, some 170, I don't know, some high ass base power, right? And then if you have electric terrain from Tapu Koko, that's a very strong nuke. So yeah, this was just meant to break, and in general. And when I was running it like this, I can't remember which stab move I didn't have, because I didn't have Shadow Ball or I didn't have Sludge Wave. I don't remember which one, but I was Taunt 3 attack, and this set was able to really stomp Balance, because again, Balance relies on switching into something like Toxapex. I mean, you can even run Sludge Wave nowadays, so that's something like Tangrowth won't wall you. But that was the nice part, Taunt plus Thunder, because you're able to destroy Celesteela and Toxapex, which are a lot of times people's premier switch-ins to these special attackers, you know. Because when people think of special attackers, what do they think of? They think of all the psychic types. They think of Lele, they think of Alakazam, Latios, and then to a lesser extent, not a psychic type, but Magearna, which, you know, its stab moves are walled by steel, which is what I'm trying to say. Ghost isn't walled by steel. Thunder, I mean, Celesteela definitely doesn't resist Thunder. So in general, this Gengar has been pretty good for me. I mean, I haven't used it in a minute, but I would use this. You can run up a different number of Z moves. My buddy ABR in a tournament a while ago ran Fightinium Z, Sub Focus Blast, Shadow Ball. I don't remember what the last move was, but Titanium Z was a very cool tech. I know he had sub too, and he said that he liked this tech because it let him safely Oko Heatran and safely get rid of T-Tar, Ferrothorn, stuff like that. And I was like, damn, that's actually not a bad tech at all. It's very similar to Tapu Lele, but it's less expected on Gengar for sure. So Z move Gengar, definitely a good set in my opinion. You guys should definitely try that out. You can run Z Ghost, Z Fight, Z Electric. There's different options for it. And then the last set I have is just Substitute. Okay, this is just plain sub. I mean, I guess it's the same as what I was talking about this, but yeah, this is just sub. Because in general, Gengar still can make use of its resistances. In general, I think this set is a little bit worse because Gengar gets scared out by a lot more. But I think there's a lot of different things you can toy around with the Gengar. Will-O-Wisp, for example, Pain Split. Like, it has a lot of good moves, Destiny Bond. But in general these days, I don't know, it just doesn't stick on the battlefield as much as it used to. Like, Gengar used to go in and out, like, in Gen 5. Like it could stay in for like 5-6 straight turns, switch out and come back in 20 turns later in a long Gen 5 game. Nowadays, I feel like that could never happen. I feel like it would just die to everything, because even defensive Pokemon be hitting hard in this game. So I feel like it's become a lot tougher for Gengar, which sucks. I think when they took away Levitate, it really just cursed this Pokemon. Ha! No pun intended. Cursed body. Ha! No pun intended, obviously. But yeah, they really took away. But anyway, the final thing I'm going to do is just go through the viability rankings. And basically we'll just see how Gengar matches up, because I always gotta like look into the viability rankings. So in general, you can see that S rank, I want to see where it's rated as well, but S rank, yeah. So in general, these Pokemon are usually able to deal with Gengar. Of course though, if it is specs, it does outspeed 3 of these guys, and it can chip. Like all good Pokemon, like all good breakers, you want to have hazards up for it as well. An A+ rank, I mean, again, none of these things resist Ghost, so I mean, it's pretty nice. Like, as I said, the majority of stuff in this tier doesn't really resist Ghost, except for Greninja, which doesn't count. T-Tar, which does count, will smash you and trap you if you're specs. But yeah, I mean, like, in general, Gengar has its place. I wonder what it's ranked, like B or B-. What are we thinking? C rank, jeez, C rank, that's tough. Komodo was better, I agree, but C rank is tough. Probably put it in okay, it's better than these guys. It's better than all 6 of these. I'd probably put it in B-, or like in between. Nah, I put it in B-, I think. I think it's, I don't know. Gengar's questionable, man. It's very questionable. One of the big problems with Gengar, and this was one of the problems in Gen 6 as well, is that when Gengar pays off, it's like, oh shit, it pays off so hard. That used to be the case with Gengar, because it was a risky pick. I mean, Gengar has very frail defenses, and it's a Pokemon that it's rewarded by good plays. Okay, like, you can really piss someone off using Gengar, because it has so many of those key resistances. It's annoying, it's fast, has good like typing, all that, like, has good move coverage, all that good stuff. So it used to be a Pokemon like that. You loaded it up, high risk, high reward. Nowadays, I feel like it's high risk, no reward. Like, that's like a lot of time that's how I feel these days. If I use Gengar, like, it's a high risk to bring this Pokemon because it dies to everything, it's weak to everything. You can risk running into Pursuit and just losing. There's some matchups where it won't do anything, so you can risk all this stuff. And then even if you don't run into a team like that, still a general team is pretty decent versus Weavile. Like, it's not a Weavile, I mean, sorry, not Weavile, a Gengar weakness. I was just thinking about Weavile because I was thinking about Pursuit. In general, a team, like, when I'm building a team, I don't be thinking like, oh shit, I'm out weak to Gengar, because like, inherently, it's just not that hard to cover. Like, it can be a threat, it's just, I don't know, it rarely has been recently in the meta, which is kind of why I want to see it come back, especially in different forms of Z, because I think this thing can be a very potent breaker. But basically, that's it. That's basically all I got to say about Gengar. Different from Keldeo, I will say this, I do think this thing might even be better than Keldeo, for sure. Keldeo is like kind of bad, so even though I feel like I sounded really harsh on Gengar this video, it's definitely not a bad Pokemon. I think the Z set has a lot of potential. If I were to rate these sets 1 to 4, Z move, all 3 types, Ghost, Fight, Electrium Z, they all got to be toyed around with. I think Fightinium and Electrium Z have the greatest chances of being great. Greatest chances of being great, man. I'm so good with words. But anyway, that'd be the first one. Specs would definitely be the second one. Scarf would be the third, but honestly, I don't think Scarf's that good. Like, I bet Scarf sucks, but you can try it. The only, or you should run Trick with Scarf. You need to run Trick, I think. Because Scarf Gengar could only be good versus Hyper Offense, and even then, it's probably not that good versus Hyper Offense. So this is kind of a fish. You probably do need Trick, just because Trick is a good enough utility to where even if your Gengar doesn't kill anything, at least you're able to trick something, and so you're able to kind of like take something out of the game in that sense. That's why trick is good on Pokemon like Gengar, because there are going to be matchups where they are bad Pokemon like Gengar, and then you're able to trick away your choice item, and at least you're able to cripple something if you're going to be trash for the rest of the game. And then any version of sub support with Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split, all that stuff should definitely be tested out as well. But live with Gengar coming soon, of course, but not today. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll be back with a video later today, and peace.